Welcome to another edition of How to Fix It Yourself with Dave and Dave. If you remember when we did the replacement of the motor for the moonroof, there was many of the interior parts we had to take apart and to get out of the way in order to make that work. So we had a problem with the side trim piece at the driver's side front, and we had a problem with the sun visor on the passenger side. So we're going to show you how we fix those here in this video, and I hope it's instructive for you to help you figure out how to keep the interior of your vehicle looking really good even if it's old. So this is the part we were talking about in the intro. You'll notice that it has these plastic clips that have the metal clips that go over them to actually have the spring to slide into the slot. Often you can get them out if you're careful and not break them. But sometimes even if you are careful, you can break them off. So typically what people do is they try and glue something together, maybe do a little gluing or hard gluing it on the edges to hold it in place. There is a couple of ways to go. Of course, the absolute ideal way to go is to get a replacement part, but on these older cars, it can be very difficult to find a replacement part, especially one that matches the color scheme that you have. So there's one other way to fix these. It takes a little bit of time and you have to be a little bit careful. Now you'll notice the tool that I'm using and pointing things out here is probably not something that you normally see. You can find some tools on Amazon or at hardware stores sometimes. Those tend to be fairly soft metal and not really great for if you're doing hard things. So one of the things that I do is I get real friendly with my dentist. And when his tools wear out, sometimes I'll buy a couple of pieces off of him because this one is a dental tool and it's very hard, very stiff, and works very well in many situations. So you might want to consider getting real friendly with your dentist to get some tools that might be a little better quality than what you can get off of the internet. So the way we're going to fix this time is we're going to actually do a paper fix. Now that may seem a little weird that you're doing a paper fix, but all the paper is doing is actually providing a structure for super glue. And you want to use this particular super glue. You want to be sure that it's an ultra gel control. There's other versions other than Loctite, but I like the Loctite a lot. So what you do is you coat the bare plastic part with super glue. Then you coat the paper strip with super glue. You put it on, and it's actually the super glue gel that's actually providing the strength. But it needs something to back it up because super glue by itself will break fairly easily. And so soaked paper with super glue tends to make a very fine buffer or very fine media to actually provide that strength. Now I've already put on 2 coats of paper with super glue on it, just so it's in place and we're not mucking around trying to hold this in the right location while we get everything on. So I've already done all that. So we're just going to illustrate how to use the paper to put on one more layer of super glue. So I'm going to go ahead and start putting on the gel. The gel stays in place, and so you can kind of work it in. You can kind of see how I'm getting it on there. You want to make sure you get it in all the cracks and crevices. It doesn't hurt if it's a little, there's a little bit of extra. It's not going to hurt anything. Then you're going to want to take some tweezers and grab the slices of paper. Now this is just standard copy paper that I've cut. So it's nothing special. Just go to your printer, your laser printer or inkjet printer, and grab the paper. Then set it in, and from there you're going to want to make sure you get it down into the crevices. Move it in really carefully, get it lined up right. Make sure that it's got a good buffer. Take the excess that's around the edges and kind of work that in. And once you get that done, then you'll want to put a little more super glue gel on the paper itself, and it will then soak in and bond to the super glue that's already solidified on the other pieces of paper. All right, so now you can see that the paper is starting to get that kind of grayish look to it as the super glue is soaking through it. You want to make sure that the super glue is soaking through it real well. The aluminum foil, of course, is there to keep from getting super glue all over everything. So you can then clean off your tool and do the same thing on the other side. Now it'll take a little while, a half hour or so for it to completely dry. So you do want to give it a little bit of time. So we're going to go ahead and we'll do the other side now that you see how it's done. Then we'll give it a break and let it dry. So as we mentioned in the intro, a couple of things didn't quite go right as we were working on getting the moonroof motor put in place. One of the items was the passenger side sun visor. So this is the interior hook for the sun visor, not the pivot point. And when we pulled it out, the holder mechanism, which goes right there, broke. So this thing goes together like that, and then there's a snap piece that goes into the metal to hold this in place. And then you use a screw to expand those wings so that they will stay in place. So that broke. So there's no real good way to make that work. So now you're into replacement parts. So I got this part from, replacement part from Megazip. They had it in stock, but they didn't have the color I needed. So that was the color they had, but this is the part that I needed. So that was no big deal. I could just take and pull the interior part off of there and assemble it into the part that we needed here on the Pathfinder. And the Megazip's prices were really good. I think this part here that I bought was something on the order of $15, maybe 20 bucks. Good prices, great company to work with, highly recommend them. Just you're gonna have to wait, on shipping on those things. So we'll go ahead and assemble our replacement part. You can see this is the bag that this one came in, so it's an official Nissan genuine part, not some aftermarket part. And we'll go ahead and assemble that, and we'll put it up into the Pathfinder. It'll be a real easy assemble from here, but I just wanted to give you an idea on some of these old cars that it can take some time to find the right part, but if you take the time to find the right part, you're gonna have a much better assembly and a much better experience. This is the side we were talking about for the clip. So you can see that after we got through putting the motor in up in this area, that we still have this issue right there. So now that we've assembled the part, it goes in real easy. It just goes in, make sure you get the clips to pop like that, and then the screw goes in and you're done. So not a hard assembly at all. The biggest problem is getting the parts. Of course, they're plastic, so you don't want to overdo it on the tightening. And there we've got a finished product. All right, so we've now installed the clip onto the post that we glued together. It's held up just a little bit, but not very much. It's slid on there pretty nicely. By the way, just as a reference point, you might have to wait a day or half a day or a day for all the glue to dry properly. So now it's just a matter of setting it up in there and popping it into the two slots. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and slide the piece in, align the tabs. It needs to slide back down in there real nicely. Make sure that it is lined up so that you can see where it was before. Get it inside of the this weather stripping here, and then you should be able to just pop it and pop it. And now it's all nice in place, and we've got it back where it needs to be. Well, this has been a fun little adventure. You notice we had to try some interesting revisions. You notice we had to buy some parts, had to get some stuff from Japan. But once we had all the pieces together and we had all the little paper fillets put in, that was actually a fairly simple reassembly. The car looks great now. Hopefully you've enjoyed this, found it instructive. Please subscribe, hit the bell icon to be notified when new videos come up, and please use our links that we provide below. I hope you have a good day, and it's been a pleasure to show you these techniques.